Imagine a civilization building structures that just defy time. A culture where the river, the Nile, its rhythm shaped every single belief. And a world where kings weren't just rulers, they were living gods.
Right.
We're talking, of course, about ancient Egypt, a place where myth and reality were, well, beautifully blurred. It was their foundation. For this deep dive, we're really taking a shortcut to getting properly informed about one of history's most fascinating belief systems,
Hmm.
ancient Egyptian mythology.
Indeed. And today we're not just, scratching the surface, we're diving deep. We're looking at key ideas drawn from extensive sources, including ancient Egyptian mythology, Genesis pantheon, and practice. Our mission really is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the key insights, to help you understand not just what they believed, but crucially why it mattered so much, connecting the dots of their complex cosmic vision.
That's right. We're going to journey from the very start, the foundations of their world, those primordial waters of creation, then meet the gods and goddesses shaping their daily lives. And finally, look at the rituals, the philosophies that held it all together. So settle in because here's where it gets really interesting. We'll see how surprisingly relevant some of this ancient wisdom still feels today. Let's set the stage, shall we? This whole mythological framework, it really started to solidify around, what, 3100 BCE?
That's the period, yes, with the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt,
Hmm.
usually attributed to Menes or perhaps Narmer.
And what's just fascinating, to me anyway, is how immediately their society, their structure, became tied up with their spiritual beliefs. It wasn't like religion was over here and the state there.
Precisely. It was completely integrated. You have to remember, ancient Egyptian society was fundamentally agricultural, utterly dependent on the Nile's annual flood.
The inundation, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this wasn't just, a practical thing about farming. It deeply shaped their entire worldview. The flood brought fertile silt, life from the waters. It became the ultimate symbol of life, death, and rebirth. It was a metaphor mirrored in the sun's journey, their concept of time, and their absolute belief in maintaining Matat, cosmic order.
But we'll definitely come back to that.
Oh, yes. The Nile wasn't just water. It was like the pulse of their world. They even deified it as happy. Its rhythm reinforced that cyclical view of everything.
So mythology served a dual purpose then, explaining the universe, sun, river, stars, but also, maybe just as importantly, solidifying political power. Especially the pharaoh's divine status sounds, well, quite effective.
Absolutely, that's a critical point. During this long period we're looking at, roughly 3100 to 1500 BCE, the Old and Middle Kingdoms, we see this blend of power and belief really evolving. The Old Kingdom, say 2686, 2181 BCE, that's the Pyramid Age, those massive structures literally screamed God King. Pharaohs weren't just leaders, they were divine beings, intermediaries,
Directly linked to the gods.
directly, especially Ra, the sun god. Their rule ensured prosperity, kept cosmic order. Then, moving into the Middle Kingdom, maybe 2055, 1650 BCE, the pharaoh's divinity is still central, but you see a more centralized government, maybe the start of some religious shifts.
Just how?
Well, it wasn't static, it was dynamic. Initially, you had local gods tied to specific towns or regions, the nomos deities, but with unification, there's a push towards a more unified national pantheon, reflecting that national identity. And interestingly, you sort of see what some call the democratization of the afterlife. Things like funerary texts, rituals once mostly for the pharaoh become more accessible to nobles, maybe even the middle classes.
Ah, like the coffin texts.
Exactly, guiding more people through the afterlife journey. It shows the system was adapting, evolving.
Okay. So one of the most intriguing bits, for me anyway, is that there wasn't just one creation story. There were several, coming from different places like Heliopolis, Hermopolis, Memphis.
Right.
It almost feels like theological competition, each city backing its own version. Let's unpack that.
It really highlights the regional diversity within that unifying culture. But despite the differences in, say, the main god or the method, they shared core themes,
Like what?
like the universe emerging from water, a primordial, chaotic water mass, none. And always this transition from chaos to order, that was fundamental. And the cyclical idea was crucial. The sunrise wasn't just morning, it was like a mini reenactment of the first creation, a daily win for order over chaos.
Okay, let's start with the big one. Heliopolis. The Ennead, the nine gods. How does that story go?
Right, this is often seen as the sort of standard version, if you like.
Yeah.
It begins with none. Imagine this infinite, dark, watery chaos, both nothingness and pure potential. From this darkness, on a mound that rises from the water, Adam emerges,
Right.
self-created. His name means something like the completed one or the all. He contained everything, male and female aspects,
All by himself.
all by himself. Then he creates the first divine pair through self-procreation. Some texts say masturbation, others spitting. And that produced Shu, god of air, and Tefnut, goddess of moisture. This first separation pulling air and moisture out of the formless void, that's the symbolic start of order, creating the atmosphere.
And Shu and Tefnut then have Geb and Nut, earth and sky.
Exactly. Geb, the earth god, Nut, the sky goddess, representing the physical world. But, as you hinted, they were born locked in this passionate embrace, sky pressing down on earth, no space.
So they had to be separated.
Yes, to create the world we know, space for life for the sun's journey. Shu, commanded by Adam or sometimes Ra, forces them apart, lifts Nut up high as the sky dome. Geb stays below as the earth. It's a dramatic, necessary act, essential for establishing mocked cosmic order. And from them, from Geb and Nut, come the next four crucial figures: Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. Their story, the Osiris legend, is absolutely central.
So, okay, for you listening, what's the takeaway here, beyond just a cool story?
Well, it profoundly emphasizes that shift. From chaos, none, to order, mocked. Adam's self-creation, the sun's daily rebirth from none. It reinforces that cyclical view of nature, constant renewal, and crucially, the belief that pharaohs descended directly from Adam, or later Ra. That was the bedrock of their political legitimacy. Their rule was divinely ordained, a continuation of cosmic creation. To oppose the pharaoh was to invite chaos.
Wow, okay. Now, shifting gears. Hermopolis, a different creation force, the Ogdoad. 8 gods this time.
Yes, the Ogdoad, 8 primordial deities in 4 pairs. Each pair embodies an aspect of the chaos before creation. You have Nun and Nonet, the primeval waters themselves. He and Hahet, infinite space, eternity. Kukenkaukit, the deep darkness. And Amun and Amunet, representing hiddenness, invisibility, latent power.
So they are the chaos, in a way.
They represent the constituent elements of that pre-creation state, yes. And these 8, in this version, their interaction, their combined essence, brings forth the primordial mound. Sometimes a lotus flower rises from it, and from that mound, the sun god Ra is born, who then creates the ordered universe. This myth became really important later, especially with the rise of Amun.
Ah, Amun, who becomes Amun-Ra.
Exactly. As Thebes rose, so did Amun, its patron god. This myth gave him a deep theological background, connecting him right back to the beginning.
And then there's Memphis, with Ptah, god of craftsmen. This one sounds different again, more intellectual.
Indeed, it's quite distinct. In the Memphite theology, Ptah doesn't create physically, like Adam. He creates through thought and speech, divine intellect. First, he conceives the universe in his heart, the seat of mind and emotion for Egyptians. Then he speaks it into existence. He names everything, and the act of naming brings it into being.
That's quite profound, like the power of the word itself.
It is. It's a very sophisticated concept. It positions Ptah as superior in this view because he creates through divine intellect, not just physical force. It suggests thought and language are the ultimate creative powers. Very influential idea.
Okay, so let's move on to the pantheon itself. It's huge, right? Hundreds, maybe thousands of gods. Can feel a bit daunting.
It can seem that way. There was a lot of regional variation, gods merging, roles shifting over time.
But let's focus on the big players, especially in that Old and Middle Kingdom period, say 3100 to 1500 BCE. The ones who really dominated, they weren't just concepts, right? They were personifications of nature, society, everything.
Very much so. They made the divine feel tangible, immediate.
So number 1 has to be Ra, or Re, the sun god.
Absolutely. Ra was preeminent, seen as the creator, the sustainer of cosmic order, Mot. His symbols are iconic. The sun disk, often on a falcon's head, showing his power and flight across the sky, and the Ankh, the symbol of life. His daily journey was crucial. Across the sky by day in his solar boat, then descending into the underworld, to Duat, at night, battling chaos, especially the serpent Apep, then reborn at dawn.
A daily cycle of death and rebirth.
Exactly, a powerful symbol. His reappearance each morning was like a guarantee that order still prevailed.
And we mentioned his link to the pharaohs.
Yes, huge link. Heliopolis, the city of the sun, was his center. Old Kingdom pharaohs explicitly called themselves Son of Ra. It wasn't just a title, it was divine legitimacy. Their rule was Ra's will on earth.
Okay, next up, Osiris, Lord of the Underworld. His story seems absolutely central.
He's pivotal, god of the underworld, yes, but also agriculture and rebirth. All linked. His symbols: green skin for fertility, mummy wrappings for his death and resurrection, the crook and flail of kingship, the jed pillar for stability.
And the myth: betrayal, murder, resurrection.
The core myth: he was a good king, brought civilization. murdered by his jealous brother Seth, dismembered, scattered. But his wife, Isis, finds the pieces, resurrects him with her magic long enough to conceive their son, Horus. Osiris can't rule the living world anymore, so he becomes king of the afterlife.
Making him the symbol of hope for life after death.
Precisely. And the agricultural cycle, too. Growth, death, renewal. Like the Nile fled. His main cult center was Abydos. He became incredibly popular, especially in the Middle Kingdom, as afterlife belief became more accessible.
And Isis, his wife, she sounds like a powerhouse. Sorceress, mother.
One of the most beloved and most powerful goddesses, goddess of magic, motherhood, healing, funerals, often shown with a throne symbol on her head or wings, very protective, or holding the ankh. Her story is all about devotion and power, resurrecting Osiris, often tricking other gods like Ra to gain knowledge or power, then fiercely protecting her son, Horus, from Seth.
A universal mother figure almost.
Very much so. Protector of women, children, the vulnerable. Embodied compassion, resilience. Her worship spread way beyond Egypt later on. Major figure in the Roman Empire, too.
Then there's Horus, their son. Sky god, royal protector, another key link to the pharaohs.
Absolutely crucial. Horus, the sky god, protector of the pharaoh, symbolized by the falcon, or the falcon's head, and the Ujat eye, the eye of Horus.
The eye he lost fighting Seth.
Yes, often said to be lost or injured in his battle with Seth for the throne, and then magically restored by Thoth or Hathor. It became a powerful symbol of protection, healing, restoration, wholeness. His whole myth revolves around that epic struggle with his uncle Seth. A contest for kingship. It represents order versus chaos, justice versus injustice. Horus eventually wins, restoring balance.
So the pharaoh was the living Horus.
Literally, the living Horus was a primary title. It underscored their divine authority, their role in maintaining Maktu. When a pharaoh died, he became Osiris, and the next pharaoh became the new living Horus, an unbroken divine chain.
Incredible continuity. No, Seth, the killer of Osiris. He sounds like the villain, but maybe it's more complex.
It is more complex. Seth is the god of chaos, yes. The harsh desert, violent storms, foreign lands, the untamed, unpredictable forces, often depicted with that strange animal head. Nobody's quite sure what it is. Aardvark, Okapi, something else.
Signifying his wildness.
Exactly, and yes, he killed Osiris, fought Horus, but some myths show him defending Ra's solar boat against Apep in the underworld. So, a protective side too. He's ambivalent, destructive, the force threatening Ma'at, but also necessary. Maybe chaos is needed to define order.
Yeah.
Necessary opposition.
Interesting. Okay, a slightly later note. Hathor, goddess of joy and love.
Yes, Hathor brings a different energy. Goddess of love, music, dance, fertility, joy. Symbols include cow horns around a sun disk or the sistrum, that musical rattle used in ceremonies.
A cow goddess.
Often depicted as a cow or a woman with cow ears or horns. Protector of women, associated with sensuality, motherhood, parties. Also seen as Ra's daughter. Sometimes she's the fierce eye of Ra too, like Sekhmet, but mostly benevolent joy.
And Anubis, the jackal-headed god, so linked to death rituals.
Anubis, guardian of the dead. God of mummification, protector of the underworld. Always that jackal head, or a full jackal. Black colors symbolizing rebirth, like the Nile silt. He presided over mummification, preparing the body, and guided the soul in the afterlife, especially overseeing the weighing of the heart ceremony. A crucial figure for anyone hoping for eternal life.
That's a lot of major players. And there were others, too, briefly.
Oh, many others. Thoth, god of wisdom, writing, magic, the moon, often an ibis or a baboon, the divine scribe, Ma herself, the goddess personifying truth, justice, order, with her feather symbol used in the judgment. And Bastet, goddess of home, cats, protection, usually a cat head, gentle protector, bringing joy. The list goes on.
It's striking just how completely religion was part of everyday life, not a separate thing at all.
It was the operating system. Seriously, every ritual, every act, from the pharaoh down to a farmer making an offering, was about maintaining Ma'at, preventing Isfet, chaos. The gods were actively involved, constantly needing appeasement, honor.
So inside those massive temples, what actually went on? It wasn't like a modern church service, right?
Not really for the general public, no. Temples were the literal houses of the gods. The divine presence lived in the cult statue deep inside the sanctuary. Priests had specific daily duties, purifying themselves, offering food and drink to the statue, clothing it, anointing it, reciting prayers. It was like tending to the god's daily needs.
A service for the god.
Exactly. Maintaining that flow of divine energy, keeping the god happy and benevolent towards Egypt. Public worship happened more in courtyards or during big festivals.
Ah, festivals. So the myths were acted out, celebrated publicly.
Yes, many myths had associated festivals, big communal events. The Osiris festival at Abydos was huge. Pilgrimages, processions, dramatic reenactments of his death and resurrection, a massive outpouring of shared faith. Or the Opet festival in Thebes. Amun, Mut, and Khonsu traveling from Karnak to Luxor, reaffirming the king's divine power. These festivals bonded the community, reinforced beliefs.
And of course, the afterlife, probably what Egypt is most famous for, that intense focus.
Paramount. Death wasn't an end, just a transition. They prepared meticulously. You had the pyramid texts for royalty in the Old Kingdom, then the coffin texts in the Middle Kingdom on sarcophagi becoming more widespread.
Guides for the journey.
Detailed guides, spells, maps, instructions for navigating the underworld, overcoming dangers, reaching the field of reeds, their paradise. Later, the Book of the Dead on papyrus. And Anubis, overseeing mummification, preserving the body. And the crucial weighing of the heart, your heart against Ma'at's feather, balancement paradise, imbalancement oblivion, being eaten by the monster Emmet.
High stakes. And they used magic too, right? Not just prayers and rituals.
Absolutely. Heka, magic, was a fundamental divine force, part of creation, not separate from religion, but a tool within it, to channel divine power.
Like Isis using magic to resurrect Osiris.
Prime example, its power. People use protective amulets daily. The Ujat Eye for healing and protection. The Ankh for life, worn by everyone. Spells, incantations, magical rituals, all part of everyday life. For protection, healing, fertility, good fortune, magic was a practical way to engage with the universe's forces.
This concept of Ma'at keeps coming up. It sounds like the absolute cornerstone of everything, more than just order.
It's the bedrock. Ma'at is cosmic order, yes, but also truth, justice, balance, harmony, righteousness, morality, reciprocity, a fundamental principle that had to be actively maintained.
And the pharaoh's main job was upholding it.
His primary duty. Through fair rule, proper rituals, ensuring stability, his success reflected Ma'at. And as we said, even in the afterlife, your heart was judged against Ma'at's feather. It permeated everything. The negative confessions of the Book of the Dead, I have not stolen, I have not lied, that's all about proving you lived according to Ma'at.
And their view of time. It wasn't linear like ours. How did that work?
They saw time as cyclical. Not a straight line from past to future, more like repeating patterns. The sun rising and setting, the Nile flooding predictably each year. The myths themselves, repeating cycles of creation, death, rebirth. Everything was part of an eternal cycle of renewal, order constantly reestablished, life renewed. It gave a sense of deep continuity, stability. Not so much focus on progress, more on maintaining the existing cosmic rhythm, like seasons changing.
Which must tie into the pharaoh's divinity again. It's hard to grasp that level of authority today.
It really is. The pharaoh was the living Horus, an intermediary. His well-being directly affected Egypt's well-being. Good harvests, peace, divine favor. Rituals like the Sed festival, the royal jubilee were about magically renewing the king's strength, reaffirming his divine power. And at death, he becomes Osiris. The next king becomes Horus. That continuous cycle provided immense stability and legitimacy for thousands of years.
Okay, let's talk about their art. It's so distinctive, but it's clearly more than just decoration, right? It's mythology made visible.
Impossible to separate them. Art was mythology, visually expressed, temple reliefs, tomb paintings, statues. They were narratives, prayers, magical tools. Art with a profound religious purpose, ensuring life, protecting the dead, maintaining Ma'at.
Even the pyramids, not just tombs, but mythical structures.
Absolutely. Especially Old Kingdom pyramids. There were ramps or stairways to the heavens, designed to help the pharaoh ascend, join Ra. Their astronomical alignments, maybe to Orion, linked to Osiris, it all tied into that cosmic journey, machines for rebirth.
And the way they depicted the gods, animal heads, specific postures, all symbolic.
Highly symbolic, not literal portraits. The animal heads represented the god's nature, powers. Falcon for Horus's vision and kingship, ibis for Thoth's wisdom. Every element had meaning. The lotus for rebirth, the scarab beetle for transformation, the rising sun. A visual language everyone understood.
Even their writing hieroglyphs was sacred.
Considered a divine gift from Thoth. Not just script, but powerful symbols embodying divine energy. Carving them was a sacred act. They could invoke gods, protect the dead, anodlight statues, work magic. Writing itself was divine communication.
So this whole system, was it set in stone or did it keep evolving?
Very dynamic. Towards the end of the Middle Kingdom, leading into New Kingdom, around 1500 BCE onwards, it got even more complex. Amun's rise in Thebes was huge.
Merging with Ra.
Becoming Amun-Ra, a supreme national god. Synthesis, External influences too, like the Hyksos invasion, brought in some foreign elements, showing it could adapt. And then, of course, a bit later, you get the radical shift under Akhenaten, trying to elevate the Aten, the sun disk, as the sole god.
The Amarna period.
Exactly, suppressing other gods. A brief, almost monotheistic revolution. It didn't last. The old ways were restored. But it shows how dramatically things could change, reacting to politics and ideas.
So wrapping this up, for you listening today, why does diving into ancient Egyptian mythology still matter? What's the echo for us?
Well, these myths tackle universal human questions, don't they? Creation, life, death, order versus chaos, justice, leadership. Questions we still grapple with. Their narratives explore the human condition in ways that still resonate. And their influence was huge on Greece, Rome, adopting Egyptian gods like Isis. Our own understanding of history, art, symbolism owes a lot to them. Concepts like the cyclical nature of things, the need for balance, they still feel relevant. They offered ancient answers to timeless questions.
What an incredible journey. We've really covered a lot. The history, the creation stories, the gods, the rituals, how it all tied together.
And the philosophy behind it, that core concept of ma'at, cyclical time, the divine pharaohs, all expressed so powerfully in their art and symbols.
So as you think about this deep dive, maybe consider how these ancient myths, born from that specific place, that river, still echo our own search for meaning in life, death, renewal. What stands out to you about their incredible sense of Maat, of cosmic order? How does it stack up against our modern search for balance in, well, what often feels like a pretty chaotic world?
We really hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, giving you a richer, more nuanced view of ancient Egyptian mythology. There's so much wisdom there.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.